Where do I even start with this one? Um, what's killed the game for us today is the lack of squad depth, for sure. We played so well in that beginning of the second half, where Neto and Pedence and Morgan Gibbs White, everyone was just linking so well together, and then it gets to that 70th minute in the game where people start to tire, and Jesse Marsh looks to his bench and sees options that he can bring on and change the system, get fresh legs. Bruno looks to his, and all we've got is Chem Campbell. I mean, we got the new 5 subs rule this year, and we only make 1 sub, and it's in the 85th minute. I mean, by the end of the game, everyone's toasted. Everyone's just dead on their feet because they're drenched in sweat and worked super hard to stay in the game. But the lack of squad depth, the lack of investment has cost us the game. So I don't blame any of the players today. I mean, some of them had pretty poor standard games. Like Jose Sarr was not great, Johnny was not great, Aït-Nouri was certainly not great. Dendonka, don't really know what he offered today either, but we've got no other option. So that's just the way it is at the moment. I mean, there's nothing, I can't blame the players because there's no blame on the manager, because what else can they do? They're following the manager's system. The manager can't change up or freshen up the system or provide any competition to the players that they can improve because there's no investment in the squad. We've got about 14 or 15 senior squad players available, and like 5 of them are centre-backs. So there's nothing that Bruno can do, there's nothing that the players can do except listen to Bruno, and I just don't know what else to say. We've lost the game because of Fosun's lack of investment and disappointment in the transfer window for the last 3 or 4 windows now, where we failed to address serious issues. I mean, we brought in a centre-back, fantastic. Nathan Collins was great today. I don't really think that he put a foot wrong. I mean, were either of their goals his fault? I don't think so. So it's one good signing in 4 windows, it feels like. I mean, Hwang was actually half decent today. He got a worthy assist, and then he played okay. He still dives a little bit too much, but this is just waffling on a tangent now. I can pick up our individual players' performance if I really wanted to, but what's it going to do? The real problem is the lack of investment and the lack of ambition from our ownership. And until that gets addressed by Jeff Shi and Fosun and Guangchang, however you say his name, he's barely here anyway. So until that's addressed, then we cannot progress forward as a club, unfortunately. And we're going to be teetering in mid to lower table until that gets addressed. Leeds, they played well, they showed some fight, to be fair. I'll give them some credit, they were alright today. They had to hold on through our good spell, but they were actually played some pretty nice, direct, expansive football at times. So, and a few of their new signings actually look like pretty decent players, like Brendan Aronson actually looks like he's pretty decent, and it's nice for them to have Bamford back, obviously. But now I'm worried because we've got Fulham next week for our first home match of the season, and they actually played pretty well today against Liverpool. So, I pray that we get some players in by the end of the month. Otherwise, we're going to be in some serious hot waters. Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed. There's nothing else for me to say, really.
So, we're all glad to be back. Wolves 1, Leeds 2, a defeat away from home on the first day of the season, and one which I think some of us could maybe see coming, particularly with the lack of depth, which I think was probably the biggest talking point of the game. Obviously, the lineup coming out with a 4-2-3-1, which was good to see. We'll start with the positives first. Good to see us play 4 at the back. I think Kilman and Collins showed good glimpses in pre-season. I think they were a little bit more shaky in this game, particularly Aït-Nouri as well. And Johnny was unremarkable. But I think that the main sticking point really was the bench. It was absolutely horrendous, really. And that's no disrespect to the fantastic young players that we do have at the club. But for a club that's been in the Premier League for 5 years, to have 2 senior players on the bench, both of those being centre-backs, that aren't trusted to play in a 2, then I think that, yeah, you've got huge problems. And Fosun, I think, really have to put their money where their mouth is and add some players to this team. Otherwise, it is going to be a huge struggle. And we saw that as the game went on, the players sort of ran out of steam. And that's where Leeds got their second goal. They had the options on the bench to bring on. And you could see that our first team was getting tired. And there was literally no one on the bench that could come on and make a difference. The only player that came on was Chem Campbell for his second Premier League appearance. So I think that kind of gives you an idea as to how poor the depth is for this team, particularly with injuries. Now you have to remember that this is only with 2 injuries. It's only with 2, so you can imagine what things would be like, God forbid someone else like Gibbs White or Podence gets injured, then we literally don't have enough attacking players to field the formation that Bruno wants, which for a team, again, that's been in the Premier League for 5 years is absolutely criminal. But there are positives to this game. I think that our forward play was the majority of the positives. I thought in the first half, we looked particularly good in the opening 20 minutes, really, really quick on the ball. Again, in transition, so much quicker with the 4-2-3-1. I thought Neves was really good at pulling the strings. Dendoncker was muted in the first half, but a lot better in the second, was behind a lot of the plays in terms of recovering the ball high up the pitch. I thought he was excellent in the second half. But I think the majority of the good play came from players like Hwang, Podence, Neto. Gibbs White was quiet in the first, but again, more involved in the play in the second. I was very, very impressed with Hwang Hee-chan, a player that obviously came in for a lot of criticism this season. I did put him down as my surprise impact player because I did think that in this system it does suit him better. And it certainly looked that way. He was much more direct, a lot more technical. And a lot sharper on the ball, I think, was the main thing as well. It showed a real good turn of pace, which he was known for in Korea. And we haven't seen that, but we saw that today. And that was really good to see. Again, though, defensively, we looked so shaky. I think the opening goal and the goal that we conceded were indicative of what we did well and what we didn't do well. The first goal, excellent play by Ruben Neves to play the ball out to Neto. Excellent cross by Neto. Great knockdown by Hwang. And a really good finish by Daniel Podence. And a very well worked goal, which we have scored in pre-season. And you can see all those moves coming together. And, creating okay chances and space, but in terms of creating golden opportunities or clear-cut chances, I think even today we didn't really do that, and we didn't have many shots at goal either. So that is still a huge concern. And I think not having a centre-forward to play off is a big part of that, or having someone just in the box to cause problems. The goal we conceded was horrendous as well. Indicative, again, of last season's play. Shoddy defending, just stumbling on the ball, taking too long to make key decisions, and a horrendous piece of goalkeeping by Jose Sarr, who, since the second half of last season, I have to say, has been very, very poor. Erratic in his decision-making, got away with giving away a penalty, I think, in the first half, and a really, really poor bit of goalkeeping for the opening goal, or for the equalising goal, I should say. Can't be conceding at your near post there. But into the break, we managed to weather the storm in the first half. Second half, for the majority of the second half, we looked excellent. Won the ball back constantly. We're getting up the pitch, driving players up the pitch with numbers, creating chances. But again, like I said earlier, not creating clear-cut chances, not having someone to play to. And then when Bruno Lage is looking over his shoulder at the bench to maybe bring someone on to have an impact, there's no one there. And we're basically stuck with the starting 11, and that is it. That's it for our senior players. We've got 13 senior players, if you count the starting 11 and Cody and Bolly on the bench. 13 senior players in a Premier League squad is such negligence. Honestly, it's staggering. It really is staggering. I think there's got to be 2 or 3 players coming in through the door in the next couple of weeks. But in fairness, a lack of signings really you can't defend the second goal with a lack of signings. I think, again, poor defending. Max Kilman doing a pretty good impression of maybe someone like Connor Cody last season, watching a ball come across the face of box and free to tap in there. I thought Kilman and Collins were both really quite poor with that second goal. And again, no one to really try and get us back into the game after that. It feels very similar to the second half of last season, I'll be honest, in terms of the feeling around the place. It's not great. But I think the positives are that the attacking performance, but defensively I think we have to solidify a little bit, much better in the second half when Dendoncker turned it on. Again, but players like Neves, Neto, I think were the standout. Hwang was a standout. Pedence and Gibbs-White were good in the second half. Pedence getting a goal as well, and Hwang with the assist. So, yeah, lots of positives in terms of the forward play, but we've got to sort out that depth. Not a good start to the season. Tough game next week with Fulham as well, who had an excellent result today. It's going to be a long season, I feel.
Disappointing result today. Thought we played well before going goal behind each time. Before we let both the goals in. Thought we started second half well. Good performance from Gibbs-White. Thought Collins looked good at the back as well, but ultimately the squad's just not big enough. Not enough players. Campbell's not ready for the Premier League, but not his fault. He shouldn't have really been brought on the pitch. But we just haven't got any options at all. Feels like it's going to be a long season if it carries on like that.
Wolves have lost on the opening day of the Premier League season to Leeds United by 2-1. It's a tough one to take. It is a bit of a sickener considering how well I would say Wolves play. I wouldn't say they play very well, but I thought they certainly didn't deserve to be on the losing side today. I thought a draw was probably a reflection of the game, because Wolves had the second half up until Leeds scored, and then they controlled the game to the end because Wolves ran out of steam, because Wolves' players had to run themselves into the ground for 90 minutes because Wolves don't have any substitutes. What the hell has happened? The squad management is absolutely atrocious at this club. The owners should hang their heads in shame. Jeff Shee, Scott Sellers, and looking at you. The fact that on that bench today, the only attacking outlet was Chem Campbell and at an absolute push, Connor Ronan, is absolutely pathetic for a side going into its 5th season in the Premier League. It's nothing short of a disgrace. That is League One at best, that bench today. Take a look at it. You gave that to any casual Premier League fan, they probably would have heard of 3 or 4 of the players on our bench. It was pathetically bad. As for Wolves, how they played today, I thought they did okay. I thought they played quite well. They started with a back four, 4-2-3-1. Of course, there were many hairy moments, but as there is in the back four, we're just going to have to get used to that. We've lost today due to a goalkeeper mistake in the first half, along with Ryan Aït-Nouri, who I'll come on to in a second. And just a decent goal in the second half, cut across, and Ryan Aït-Nouri decides to do Leeds' job for them, although it would have been tapped into the net anyway, after Wolves took the lead through a brilliant goal. And that is what they should be looking at. They should see that. They should see the potential that this team has with the right investment, with just a couple of players. That's all this takes. That's all this takes. A striker, after you let Fabio Silva go out on loan, without bringing a replacement in. You were a Jimenez injury away from this happening, and it's happened. It's pathetic. Seriously. The squad management is atrocious, and I didn't want to blame that today for the defeat, because it was in everyone's head all week that if we lost, it's the owner's fault, it's Scott Sellers, it's Jeff Shee. But it is. Bruno Lage was dealt a dud hand today. He had to play a Hwang Hee-Chang, who, to be fair, I thought gave absolutely everything and played quite well, set up the goal with a good chest down to Daniel Pedence after Neto did fantastically, and move on to him in a second. But it was the potential, the templates there for Wolves. Gibbs-White played today. Gibbs-White played quite well. Loads of nice intricate touches. You can see that there is a real team there, ready to go, ready and waiting. Bruno Lage has his style. He knows what he wants to do. But in reality, the next week, by the time we play Fulham, we'll probably have sold Gibbs-White to Nottingham Forest and still not brought anyone in. I've zero confidence in them at this moment in time to do that. As for the game, because I've talked about them for long enough, Wolves have designs of players, but we all know that. But as for the game today, they started off very well. Neto down the line, crossed it in, Hwang down to Pedence, great finish, 1-0, you think brilliant. But then you looked and then you thought, well, Leeds obviously were going to come back at them because, well, they always do. They're a good team at home. And after Ryan Aït-Nouri couldn't clear the ball, don't know what that was about. He had a shocker in the first half. Aronson was getting at him every single time down that side for Leeds. He just didn't know where he was at all. Kilman and Collins, I thought, both looked shaky a bit on the ball. Kilman more so than Collins, who I was very impressed with, and I think actually, well, will turn out to be a really good player for Wolves. I have little doubt in that. The move to the back four didn't make us look more exposed, but of course it would. Of course it would, without the security of Cody there. Sal lets a shot go underneath him after Aït-Nouri and Neves failed to clear it. Goes in 1-1, then Leeds go on a attack for a little while. Dendoncker misses a gilt-edged chance at the end of the first half, which he's got to put away after some more great work by Neto. And then you think, right, second half, Wolves came out, first 20 minutes, they were on them. They were on Leeds like a rash. They were brilliant, I thought. But lacking in that one final ball where a striker could have come in handy to put a couple of them chances that they were creating away. But no, because, like we said, we don't have one at the moment. We try not to go back to that every time, but I really do think that is the root of our problems, the lack of squad depth, because Wolves got tired after about 65 minutes, and that's when Leeds took control again and eventually took the lead. Wolves had 20 minutes in that second half, had Leeds on the ropes. Melier was pulling out saves, but they just couldn't get the goal. And then they fell flat, and then when a decent goal occurred, Leeds played it down the side to Bamford and into the middle, and Aït-Nouri, I think, got the final touch in the end. You're 2-1 down, and then you're looking to the bench for inspiration, and you see Joe Hodge. Like, come on. All we brought on was Chem Campbell today. Chem Campbell's played 2 league games in his life before today. You're looking at it, and you're thinking, well, wow, that's the hand we've been dealt at the moment. That's the hand Lage has been dealt. And if we don't have players in by Fulham, and if this transfer window passes by and we lose one of Gibbs White or Neves in the end, if I was Lage, I'd walk. It's as simple as that, because it's clear he has an idea. He needs to challenge the board. Whether he does it publicly or behind closed doors, he needs to get at them, because I really do think he's onto a good thing here, and I thought it last year as well. But Bruno Lage will make Wolves a good football team if he's backed by the board. That I promise you that. But he more than likely won't be. And that's where the problem lies in the moment for Wolves. Thought they played well. Aït-Nouri, shaky defensively today. Looked okay going forward in the second half. Pedro Neto back to his best. Seriously, what a player we have there. Unbelievable. Class. He really is. A different class. We all thought he might be a bit shaky coming back from the injury, but he seems to have settled in now, and he is different gravy, honestly. He is a brilliant footballer. Daniel Podence as well. So if only there was a couple of reinforcements to help them and help Wolves push on. A midfielder and an attacker, maybe another winger. That's all we need. And we're not talking spending 40, 50 million on players here. We're talking just bodies through the door. That's it. Just to bulk out the squad a bit. That seems to be it. Until next weekend, we have Fulham at home, who played well today against Liverpool, so that will be a tough game. So hopefully we'll have 1 or 2 signings in by then, and if we don't, that's when chants and jeers will really start being directed towards Fossum for the first time since they really bought Wolves 6 years ago. But final score today, Leeds 2, Wolves 1.
It's finished Wolves 1, Leeds 2, first game of the season. Strange one, really. Glad to actually start off with, but the game started and we started really well. We managed to get the goal, good link-up play. It's great to see the forward players linking up so well for the goal. And after that, the game just kind of it fell off a bit for a while. For Wolves especially. Leeds seemed to get into the game a bit more. They've had quite a few, well, I wouldn't say chances. I think Joe side probably had to make 1 save this afternoon. He should have made 2 from their first goal. But their goal is come from a mistake from us really well. Both, I'd say both of their goals are mistakes from today. Aït-Nouri, all he's got to do is clear the ball. I love how we're trying to play out from the back and be creative and get forward as soon as possible, but in positions like that, where you impend it, just clear the ball. Just clear the ball, and then we go into the half up, and that would have probably helped us a bit more. But I feel coming back out for the second half, we dominated the whole half. I'd say they've had 1 chance where after their second goal, Bamford's header goes inside saves, which is brilliant. But we've had loads of chances to get into the box. The link-up play with the 4 forwards is very good. Dendoncker making some good runs as well. But obviously couldn't find the finish in the end. We've heard that before, and we'll probably hear it again. I think the main thing to think of from today is let's just look at the squad that we have got. I feel with that squad, if we are losing games, we won't win. If we go behind, we won't come back and win the game. especially in the second half. And then you look at the poor, I feel so sorry for them. One, the manager, two, Ken Campbell, he's up to, he's waiting probably about to his 50th minute where Hwang looked to the injured to come on, and he hasn't brought him on, he's waiting. He's brought him on for the last 5 or 10 minutes, whatever it was. At that point, the lads were knackered. You could not fault the effort from the boys today. Thought they ran, but effort doesn't win you games. Goals win you games. And today we couldn't find a goal in the second half to give us the 3 points. But I've got a weird feeling because I'm angry at the fact that we haven't got any players to help us win games or a proper goal scorer. But I'm happy that we've played the 4, we've tested out the 4, we seem comfortable in the 4. But we've lost the game, and obviously I'm sad that we've lost the game. And I don't think Leeds are all that copy, if I'm honest. I thought we literally just gifted them the goals. We switched off for the second one.
It's about 2.5 hours.
But yeah, so we move on to next week. I hope the manager doesn't revert back to a 5 because that would just be sad. And I hope to see some improvements and some signs coming, because we're going to really struggle without any signs coming in. But apart from that, I'm happy with how we played, I'm happy with how the boys worked. They ran their socks off all game, but just couldn't find the finish in the end. So we move on to Fulham, who've just come off of a draw. It'll be a good test for them at home in front of the Wolves fans at Molyneux, and hopefully we can get 3 points. So yeah, welcome back to the season. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Cheers, boys.